Hello again, friends. It's Randy Elm here with a short video on the secret killer of Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, it's not just the Jehovah's Witnesses that are affected by this. There are many other people that are, regardless of their religion, that actually have succumbed to death because of this, although it's under a different name. And what I'm going to relate to is one such as in the aviation industry, because that's something I know a little bit about being a pilot. Many have died because of this. Uh, One that comes to mind, to most people's mind, is the president's son, late President Kennedy's son, John F. Kennedy Jr. What he died of, what the findings was basically uh, he lost control of his airplane. He was flying in conditions that he should have been able to fly by looking at his instruments. That's why I have the instrument panel of my airplane in the background behind me. Talk a little bit about something called vertigo, and it's something that every pilot in their training they learn about it. But until you learn about it, I'm going to tell you, you can have it explained to you, you can be told about it, but you just don't really know. And what it is, it's a cognitive dissonance. That means you don't want to believe what you're seeing on your panel, this panel right behind me. You see that, like right above my head, this artificial horizon. You see it spinning or turning to the right, but your body is telling you no, you're turning to your left. And it's very important for a pilot to be able to save his life and keep the people safe on board with them, is to follow what the instrument panel is telling him and ignore what his own body is telling him. But here's the reason why. We have expressions just like Jehovah's Witnesses and other industries do, but I think probably because we don't want people outside the industry to know what our jargon is, what we're talking about, why we have special jargon. Because we have something called critical attitude. That's one. Another word is called unusual attitude for the same thing. And that sounds real complicated. All it really means is as a pilot, we did something dumb and we messed up and we've lost control of the airplane and it's turning, spiraling, spinning, whatever the case is, about to crash. And I think maybe they come up with that jargon, with that word, critical attitude or unusual attitude, because they're too embarrassed to say, hey, I lost control of the airplane. But that's what it means. It means you've lost control. And here's why it's really important to follow the instruments is when you've lost control and the plane's already spiraling toward the ground, is you've got to take quick and immediate action or you'll be dead. And if you take action and you think you're taking quick, just taking quick and immediate action is not enough to save your life. You have to take the correct quick and immediate action. See, if you take a quick action and you turn it the wrong way, you're just going to make that spinning or that tumbling even, you're going to amplify it. You're going to make it worse. You're going to make it where you can't pull out of that dive or that spiral, that spin. So you've got to be able to look at the instruments, the one like right behind me, and to see which direction you need to turn the controls, what you need to do with the throttle, the engine controls, and do it all simultaneously, just without even just instinct. And that's what training's all about. As a matter of fact, I had quite a bit of training. I had like 3 hours of under the hood training, and I believe if I remember right, it's been a long time since I read it. John F. Kennedy Jr., he only had like 1 hour. And I really feel if he had had a couple more hours, he would have been alive. Uh, because what it is, you get into where you can't see your outside references, and your body will lie to you. You'll think you're turning to the right, instead you're actually turning to the left, or you think you're climbing above, instead your nose is going down toward the earth. So your body's telling you one thing, but your instrument panel is telling you something else. You've got to learn to look at the instrument panel and interpret those things and to know what to do to recover. I know one time we were going down to see some good friends of ours, special pioneers down at Corsicana, Eddie and Violet. We love them to pieces, and the weatherman lied to us. We ended up having some clouds move in underneath us. They were fairly tall. I could have got underneath them and flew under them because I'd seen other airplanes flying under them, but I'd chosen to fly a little higher altitude. And the clouds were at first just kind of broken up, but then they started being closer and closer together till pretty soon they were just all covered. And you know, I when I got down there at Corsicana, I did not want to go through the clouds because, well, the ink was still wet on my pilot's license, and I didn't have the qualifications or the ratings to fly into clouds. So I had a choice either to go back and wait it out, or go back and then maybe find where the clouds dissipate and get underneath them and continue on my path. But by chance, I looked down and I saw a hole in the clouds. And I just, well, I'll go in that hole. And that hole was actually smaller than I had estimated. And I ended up getting into the clouds by accident. And I started looking at my instruments, turning on my radios, and I'm over here looking at my radio right over in this area here, and I I take too much time looking at it, and I'm not looking at the instrument right above me, this artificial horizon, until the next thing I know, I hear a loud noise. The air means we're falling. You feel your jaws pull like that. Kids didn't know about it. They're in the back seat. Miranda wasn't born yet, so it was Andrea and Alicia. I believe well, I know their grandpa was back there with them too, and they're really, all back there fussing and fighting the little kids, as kids will do, you're on my side and all that. Well, they didn't have a clue. And my Cindy, she was up front with me. She knew. She recognized what was happening because I could hear her praying to Jehovah really loud. And I'll be honest, I didn't pray aloud, but I was praying to myself. And then I remembered the training I had to, well, what do I do? Don't do the wrong thing, but look at my instruments, see which way because you see this one right above me, that artificial horizon was actually just tumbling around and around like it was in a washing machine. In reality, how those gyros work, they're staying still, and it's the airplane that's doing the tumbling around. And fortunately, when I recovered, just about the time we've come out of the clouds, Cindy said she remembers looking right over into the eyes of a farmer sitting on a tractor over by the town, but coincidentally named Farmersville, Texas, which is just east of Dallas. But anyway, that's the point I'm trying to make is there's no excuse for John F. Kennedy except, he takes the full responsibility on himself because he had the airplane that had all this instrumentation. He had the money to take the training, to learn how to interpret those, to learn how to be proficient at it. And it's sad to say it cost him and all of his passengers on board their lives. Well, this thing with cognitive dissonance, if I'm pronouncing that right, that's just a form of the vertigo that I've been describing. But we have the same thing amongst Jehovah's Witnesses. That I experienced it myself. I thought that it was the truth. I thought everything I had been taught since I was a child was the truth. And when I would start hearing things, it's like, that's not right. I mean, I'd hear they were a cult and I'd hear this. And until I started, really, even after I had been done the way I had been with them interfering into my livelihood, into my business, uh, blackmailing me, all that, I still thought it was the truth. I still thought, well, this is just some imperfect people. But yet, what did it for me was I downloaded a dictionary, Vine's Imperial Bible Dictionary, that Watchtower misquoted and out lied about on the subject of cross when they misquoted this dictionary. It's not the issue of cross, stake, whatever. It's the issue they lied about it, and they made me a party of that lie. They made me help and assist in amplifying that lie, and that was the aha moment for me. That's when I started seeing the things. Well, Jehovah's Witnesses, you can do the same thing. You don't have to go to apostate sites, although most apostates I know are out there trying to help you with the information, and most of what they're using is Watchtower's own information. They're using their dramas or clips from their dramas, ones like Mike and Kim and ones like Christian Freedom and so many others, even Bridget Anderson. And Bridget, by the way, I hope you ask Eric to take a few minutes to look at this. Maybe it'll help him understand a little more about how we as Jehovah's Witnesses can become clouded and not look at the instruments that could be right in front of us. Because yes, Jehovah's Witnesses, you have the instruments right in front of you. You don't have to even download from an XJW site. You can go and use the Jehovah's Witness publications, the Watchtower publications, and just look up their references. And once you'll see how many times they lie, it will shock you. And misquote quotations, and it's just amazing. The 607 thing, for those that are have done background into that, or even the United Nations, you can look up the official. See, the United Nations never have they been Jehovah's Witnesses, but Jehovah's Witnesses have been members of the United Nations. So you can go not to an XJW site, but to the United Nations site themselves, and you can see the public release statement. And there was some public releases that Watchtower had even put out there, but I think they're kind of hard to find. But they're floating around. You can find them. But my point I'm trying to make is, fellow brothers and sisters, Jehovah's Witnesses, you think you have the truth, like I thought I had the truth. Well, a pilot thinks he's turning to the left. He thinks he's climbing, his tail's falling toward the ground, of his airplane, or he's in a spin to the right. Whatever it is, you think that your body tells you this, and your body's lying to you. Well, Watchtower's lying to you, and you've got everything you need. Your instruments is like right in front of you. You've got an instrument panel right in front of you. It's called the internet. Years ago, people didn't have the internet where they could pull up encyclopedias and references that Watchtower quoted from authorities. You can pull that up, and you can see that. You can pull up older Watchtower articles, and you can see how they flip-flopped on their doctrine so many times. And you can, again, a little bit of question you're going to be thinking, well, what does the scripture say about those who are false prophets? Because you can obviously see they were wrong. I was told that in the past, that, oh, they're false prophets. And I knew where they had said things. I was there in 1975 when they said that. I'd seen, well, even in their own publications, they mentioned uh, the mansion that Judge Rutherford built there in San Diego. It's all there. But yet we want to try to put it out, ignore that. And if a pilot ignores the instrument panel right above and instead follows his own feelings, he's dead. He's got to be able to use his brain to look at his instrumentation and between, not just on focus on one instrument, but look at all of them and put them all together to see what the right course of action is. So it's the same way for Jehovah's Witnesses. You've got your instrumentation in front of you. You've got a powerful tool that many Jehovah's Witnesses didn't have, 20 years ago, and that's the internet and the ability to research it. So anyway, that's all for now. I do want to just say one quick thing about a previous a tape that I had done, a video I had done on would Watchtower could be another Jonestown, and I expressed I didn't think they could be, because they're doing it over and over with their on the blood issue and with the shunning of their members and getting members even to commit suicide. They're already taking human sacrifice. One thing I forgot to mention in that video, another thing that they're doing is they're killing people by robbing them of their livelihoods. You all know how they did on try to interfere in my livelihood, but think of the recent convention where that little boy, he could grow up and make a lot of money, perhaps in the music industry. And any of the young children could get education, and with their brilliant minds, they could make enough money in the future. If when they need a certain medical procedure, they could have the money to pay for it. But as it is, they go out, become janitors, window washers, and there's nothing wrong with those. They're honest professions, but yet because their livelihoods was interfered into, beginning at such an early age, that's another way that I believe they're killing people, because when the people get to the age they can't afford they need certain medicine, or it doesn't have to be getting to an age. You could be young and have a disease come. I'm getting off on a tangent here, so I'm going to cut it off now and get another video up later. I know I promised you the next one was going to be on the death trap in Texas, which had nothing to do with really Jehovah's Witnesses, but I'll have it up soon, and you can see what that's about. So long.